Does the California Building Code require a site survey? Before we answer that question, let's talk for just a minute about what is the California Building Code. The California Building Code is a set of rules for building construction. Most of them are safety related, and they tell you how far above the floor your electrical outlets have to be, or what kind of building materials you can use in an area prone to earthquakes. So that sort of stuff, safety related stuff. The California Building Code comes from basically three sources. So the state has adopted the National Building Code. It has adapted parts of the National Building Code, in other words, changed it. And then there's what I call California Customs. So that's building regulations that are unique to California as a state. So that's what the California Building Code is. It's rules about how you build primarily structures in California. So what does the California Building Code say about a site survey? A lot of people don't know this, but there's actually a section in the California Building Code that talks about a site survey. It is section 107.2.5. 107.2.5. Thank you to Dave Woolley for helping me find that. Dave Woolley of Dave Woolley & Associates gave me the pointer to that. So I just want to read you what the California Building Code says about site surveys. It's a short section. So here's what it says. The construction documents submitted with the application for permit shall be accompanied by a site plan showing the scale, the size, and location of new construction and existing structures on the site, distances from lot lines, the established street grades and the proposed finish grades, and, as applicable, flood hazard areas, floodways, and design flood elevations. And it shall be drawn in accordance with an accurate boundary line survey. In the case of demolition, the site plan shall show construction to be demolished and the location and size of existing structures and constructions that are to remain on the site or plot. The building official is authorized to waive or modify the requirement for site plan when the application for a permit is for alteration or repair, or when otherwise warranted. Okay, so that's what the California Building Code actually says about surveys. Getting a survey, what they call a site survey. So what does that mean? That section that we just read there, 107.2.5 of the California Building Code. So it basically means three things. Okay? Number one, it means that if you want a building permit, you have to have a site. You have to have a site plan. So that's required by the California Building Code, unless the requirement for a site plan is waived. We can talk about that here at the end of the video. So if you want a building permit in California, somebody at the building department should be asking you for a site plan. It's in the California Building Code. Second thing, if a site plan is required, in other words, if it's not waived, it must be based on an accurate boundary line survey. So you can't have a site plan according to the California Building Code unless you have an accurate boundary survey. And then finally, number three, it needs to show, your site plan needs to show stuff that is based on the survey that you got, the accurate survey stuff. So what kind of stuff? What kind of stuff has to be shown on the survey that you submit as part of your site plan? So it's listed out in the section 107.2.5, but I'm gonna give you the punch list here. Okay, so you have to show distances from structures that could be existing or proposed to the lot lines. Okay. And the main reason they do that is they want to make sure that you're meeting the building setback requirements, that you're not getting too close to the property line. It has to show flood hazard areas, floodways, and design flood elevations. So if you're anywhere near a flood zone, you're going to need to have a land surveyor look at that. That also means you're going to have to establish the topography of the site on the same vertical datum that the flood insurance rate map is on. So you need a land surveyor to do that. And it's not directly stated in that paragraph, but the implication is if you're showing distances from structures to lot lines, that you need to show the lot lines. So you're going to show the parcel boundaries and probably the setback lines on your site plan. So when can the requirement for a site plan be waived? So the California Building Code says if you're going to do an alteration or a remodel or repair work, in other words, you're not modifying the footprint of the existing structure, then the building official can waive the requirement for a site plan. And it also says where otherwise warranted, Okay, so there may be some special circumstances. For example, you're putting up a barn in the middle of a 200-acre parcel. They may not make you get a site plan for that. Okay, but what that means is, as a general rule, the building official should be requiring a site plan. It's in the California Building Code, right? If not, there should be a waiver, and it should be in writing, and the waiver should explain the reasons why site plan isn't being required. So we'll probably talk about that in another video. We'll also talk about what should a site plan for what should a site plan for a building permit actually look like. We might show an example and walk over some of the stuff that we talked about in this video. We'll actually show you an example of that, and then we'll talk about, all right, given that the California Building Code requires a site plan for a building permit with those specific items that we mentioned, who can prepare one? Can your architect do that? Can your civil engineer do that? When do you need a licensed land surveyor to do that? So we'll talk some more about that. I have a couple other videos about site plans. For example, I have a video that talks about when do you need a site plan? Why is that important when you're working on a compact urban site? I will have our content marketing specialist, Lori, link to those videos in the description for this video up on YouTube. So there you go. Does the California Building Code require a site survey? The answer is yes. Yes, it does. It requires a site survey. It's got to be based on it requires a site plan. That site plan has to be based on an accurate boundary line survey. That is right there in the California Building Code. If you're not going to do that, you need a waiver, preferably in writing, from your local building official.